Medieval battles weren't won by noble knights in shining armor. They were decided by ruthless efficiency and cold steel. Behind every battlefield victory stood not just valor, but the brutal brilliance of weapon makers who crafted tools designed to exploit weaknesses and end lives. Let's start with the warhammer, perhaps the most perfect expression of medieval pragmatism. Warhammer. The Nightkiller knights spent fortunes on custom-fitted plate armor, believing themselves nearly invincible. Their armor could deflect arrows, shrug off sword strikes, and turn men into walking fortresses. But then came the warhammer, and everything changed. Unlike swords, which slid harmlessly off armor, the warhammer delivered massive force to a concentrated point. One solid blow could cave in a helmet and the skull underneath, without even piercing the metal. It didn't need to cut. The sheer energy of the impact transmitted through the armor, turning brains to mush. Your armor didn't protect you. It just kept the mess contained. Many warhammers featured a nasty spike on the back, making them versatile weapons, one end for crushing, the other for puncturing. When your enemy is wrapped in steel, sometimes you just need the right can-opener. At the Battle of Agincourt, 1415, English men-at-arms used warhammers to devastating effect. French knights, bogged down in the mud, became sitting targets in their own armor. Their expensive gear turned from protection into a metal tomb. And unlike swords, the warhammer didn't require finesse, just brute strength and a good swing. That made it accessible to common soldiers. Think of it as medieval battlefield tech with a very short user manual, pointy end toward enemy, swing hard. Flail, chaos on a chain. If the warhammer was pure efficiency, the flail was chaos incarnate. It looked simple, a spiked metal ball on a chain attached to a wooden handle, but in practice, it was wildly unpredictable and difficult to control. The chain introduced a delay between movement and impact, making timing difficult to master. Many first-time users ended up hitting themselves, which is why flail injuries during training are well documented in medieval records. In fact, the flail may be the only weapon in history with a confirmed kill count against its own users. So why use it? Because its unpredictability made it perfect for bypassing defenses. A shield might stop a sword, but a flail could swing around it, landing devastating blows from unexpected angles. The flexible chain also amplified force, allowing the head to strike with whip-like velocity, increasing impact power by up to 40% over rigid weapons. Some flails had multiple chains and heads, adding even more unpredictability. Others had hollow heads that whistled in flight, turning the weapon into a psychological terror tool. Its origins were humble, adapted from farming tools used to thresh grain. During peasant revolts, flails were repurposed for war. The Hussites of Bohemia, for example, wielded flails with deadly efficiency against armored knights. In the hands of a trained fighter, a tool meant for wheat could easily turn into a weapon of war and a nightmare for the elite. Godendag, the commoner's equalizer, next up, a weapon that looked primitive, but rewrote the rules of medieval warfare. The Godendag, literally, good day in Flemish. It was essentially a wooden club with a metal spike at the end. Simple, yes, but devastating, absolutely. At the Battle of the Golden Spurs 1302, Flemish townspeople, mostly militia and peasants, used the Godendag to destroy a French cavalry force. How? They developed a simple tactic, braced the spike against the ground, and let charging knights impale themselves. Once the knight was downed, the club end finished the job. The Flemish had no heavy cavalry, no noble knights. But with a few 100 sharpened sticks. They beat the finest armored force in Europe and changed the face of battlefield strategy. The Godendag was cheap to produce, easy to train with, and deadly effective. Entire towns could arm their militias within weeks. It required no fancy swordplay, just solid footing and good timing. It wasn't elegant, but it worked, a reminder that battlefield advantage doesn't always come from complexity. Zweihander, the medieval greatsword on the opposite end of the spectrum, was the Zweihander, a two-handed monstrosity of a sword. It was absurdly large, often 5 to 6 feet long, with some reaching nearly 7. When carried into battle by German mercenaries known as the Landsknechts, it became a symbol of terrifying brute force. These mercenaries were paid double to wield it, not just because of the sword size, but because of its specialized role. Zweihander users were formation breakers. Their job: charge straight into pike formations and carve a path through. The long blade could slice through multiple pike shafts in a single swing, creating chaos and gaps for allies to exploit. The sword's design evolved over time, a ricasso, an unsharpened section near the base, for better grip, parrying, hooks for trapping weapons, and sometimes ornate etching. But make no mistake, this was a practical weapon of war, not just an oversized showpiece. At battles like Bicocca 1522, Zweihander wielding mercenaries shattered Swiss pike formations, proving that even unbreakable tactics could be undone by the right weapon and enough raw strength. Final thoughts whether it was the crushing power of the warhammer, the unpredictable fury of the flail, the grassroots lethality of the Godendag, or the sheer spectacle of the Zweihander. Medieval warfare was not defined by honor and pageantry. It was defined by innovation, adaptability, and an unrelenting drive to overcome the enemy's defenses by any means necessary. And in that brutal arms race, the real victors weren't just the men who swung the weapons, but the minds that forged them.